Third
Good
episode.
evening.
Welcome to the third episode of the Development Sector Dialogues, a series that will happen on the fourth Saturday of every month. These dialogues hope to bring thought leaders, social entrepreneurs, grassroots practitioners, and the development sector professionals onto a common platform so that ideas can be exchanged, knowledge and experiences shared, and solutions to shared challenges can be discussed and hopefully co-crafted and created. In this episode, the question we are debating is scalability and leadership challenges in community-based field NGOs. These sessions are brought to you jointly by VLEAD, SPYM, and Prakalpa Saujanya Foundation. The Vivekananda Institute for Leadership Development, VLEAD, can also be viewed as an acronym for the Vivekananda Institute for Leadership, Education, and Development, as these are the three core areas of our engagement. VLEAD is an initiative of the Swami Vivekananda Youth Movement, which is a development organization engaged in building a new civil society in India through its grassroots to policy-level action spanning health, education, community development, and capacity building and training. VLEAD is an innovation and capacity building lab where ideas are spawned, innovation is nurtured, and leadership is encouraged. It also encapsulates within it an exclusive portfolio of products and programs across the themes of leadership, education, and development. VLEAD is a place to come to if you are someone looking to incubate your idea, experiment, build your skill sets, enhance your talent stack, contribute to the society, and make a dent in this sector. Prakalpa Saujanya, which is a Sanskrit project for social good, is a not-for-profit Section 8 company launched in October 2021 with the endeavor to provide affordable solutions for the social sector organizations for sustainable outcomes. The initiative was started by a group of project management professionals chartered with the mission to enable the development sector by applying proven processes through domain expertise, collaborative learning, and technology-driven empowerment. Prakalpa has evolved a comprehensive suite of programs focused on enabling, energizing, and empowering organizations in adopting a practitioner's approach with an emphasis on delivery of benefits, impact analysis, and sustainability. Prakalpa believes these initiatives will enable social sector organizations to develop more effective and innovative solutions and bring about a transformational change. So with that, I'm very pleased to introduce the speaker for today's session, Mr. Pramod Kulkarni. Pramod holds an MSc in statistics. Pramod holds a MSc in statistics and is an alumnus of IIM Ahmedabad. He has had a long stint with the NGO PRADAN. He set up the NGO PRERANA in New Delhi, which worked across 65 villages located in and around the banks of River Krishna. Agriculture and water supply were tainted. The river water was not used for irrigation. PRERANA introduced small lift irrigation schemes that continue to work effectively till date, all 250 that were introduced, which have now expanded to 3,000 schemes. PRERANA also helps students who perform well in their 10th but are economically weak. These students are provided with financial support for college fees and such services. About 1,000 students from Bangalore have benefited from this scheme. Another NGO started by Mr. Pramod Kulkarni is Sathi, which works on the rehabilitation of children who happens to run away from home and hop in trains. Sathi rescues these children from the railway platforms and reunites them with their parents after giving them the necessary counseling. Currently, 98,000 children have been rehabilitated thus far. He is also part of the NGO Chirantan, which provides on-ground help, having performed nearly 10,000 cleft lip operations to date. Currently, Pramod focuses more on the programs to give math education to bright students from government schools. He helps prepare them pass the NTSC exams. At the state level, in the 10th standard, only 30 students from government schools pass, and Pramod certainly aims to increase this to 100%. Today, the session will be moderated by Mr. Ramesh from VLEAD. Ramesh is presently the director, Vivekananda Institute for Leadership Development, a unit of SPYM. He has over 25 years of experience spanning the domains of sales, marketing, branding, and product management, project management, training and capacity building, coaching and mentoring, teaching, and creative and structured writing. Ramesh has worked across geography and leadership positions spanning healthcare, business, strategy consulting, knowledge process outsourcing, teaching and training, capacity building. Besides the areas of competence, he's also deeply invested in understanding and practicing and disseminating the dharmic and cultural heritage of India. Writing is a passion, and he has authored several articles on the range of topics, including culture, management, leadership, spirituality, and politics. His hobbies include cricket, writing, blogging, and podcasting. So without further ado, over to you, Mr. Pramod and Ramesh. Looking forward for a great discussion.
Thank you, Bala.
Thank you, Bala. That was a very nice introduction. And welcome on board, Pramod ji. I think it's an absolute pleasure to have you as our speaker, as our interlocutor now for this, what is the third episode of Redevelopment Sector Dialogues. I would like to start by asking a question that is perhaps something that many people would have actually asked you. But it's a question that is uppermost in several people's minds. You're somebody who has decided to take a route that is not very common for many people who come from IIMs. You decided to work in the development sector by setting up NGOs like PRERANA and Sathi. Very keen to know what made you choose this path, and when you look back on it in retrospect, how do you see this, and if you could trace that journey very quickly for us.
Yeah, so many people have asked many times this question, but in fact, my answer is that I don't know much about it. In the sense, when I passed out from IIM, the aspiration back home that you should get into a very senior position and earn wealth, those were not the kind of the thoughts at home. I mean, coming from a very, very humble situation, getting into IIM itself was a big thing. So what more there to achieve that kind of situation? And also spiritually, there was this feeling that, let me do something good. And also there was an environment at that time where there were issues in the society, and there was a lot of things to do. A lot of things were not good. And very surprisingly, the problem was, not so much focused on the poverty, but the problem perceived at that time was the anger against the rich, which is very strange. So you are a better person if you dislike a rich than helping a poor, put it very crudely. So there was this anti-corporate feeling floating in the air. And so all these factors sort of, prompted me. In fact, so much so that I thought what I'm doing is very normal and what others are doing are not normal. So anyway, there was not much of, I must also acknowledge that there was not much of a thought behind it. It was only a feeling, and there was no ism, or I had not read, I had not seen the world as much as one thinks that a person would have done all that to make a conscious choice. So it was more of a, feeling level thought, feeling level, and then I just moved on to development sector. But looking back, if that is another interesting question. If an IMA graduate comes to me now and says that I want to join development sector, my question would be why? And if that person says that no, development sector is better than corporate sector, I would say no, that is not the way to look at. That is, if you are intensely interested in working for development, is fine. But then don't compare and say that that is not good and this is good. Actually, some of my colleagues, who are in the corporate sector are the kind of the world leaders today. Phenomenal amount of work all my friends in the corporate sectors have done. And so corporate sector is like an engine, and the development sector is like cleaning the bogies. So engine is also important. So in summary, it was more of a feeling, and introspectively, I feel the people who have the potential to work in corporate sector and generate a lot of wealth and employment should choose that first, and then development. So I hope I'm sort of...
No, you've actually raised a few more questions that, one is, which means that fundamentally there has been a shift in the way you started to see things. I mean, you said that, there was this dislike of wealth itself. I mean, I'm just, because you said you dislike the rich.
Correct.
But from there, there seems to be a paradigm shift in how you're looking at this. When you're saying that wealth generation is a critical component of development itself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
And also, the broad theories at that time saying that everybody is important, everybody can be Tata Birla, which is not correct. So a large section of the society would need a simple plain job, a structured job. And so, you require economic activities, you require entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs only can provide simple jobs. So, attaching entrepreneurship with exploitation is it is true in a very small way, in a 5% way, but 85% of that is the need of the the society. You require entrepreneurship, you require generation of jobs. Even today in the village, what is its relevance today? Go and then fight for the rights is good enough, but much more than that, what we require is that somebody need to do economic activities where people get engaged. And then the moment the person gets a sustained regular income, that is a platform on which the lives are built, not on the rights and not on So both of them are important, but I'm trying to say that the importance of economic activities and giving a structured livelihood for a poor is very important.
It's a very interesting point, because I've spent most of my time in the corporate sector. It's only about 3 years since I myself personally moved into the development sector. So one of the things that these are some of the questions that I even asked. Our Dr. Balu is somebody that you might know as well, and in fact he was asking me that about today's discussion as well. One of the things I've learned is that there is nothing wrong today in the development sector itself in having private gains, as long as you are also able to do some public good. So that kind of, so in that sense,
I will give you an example.
Right.
Way back, I'm talking about 1990s, so it is around 30 years before, when I was doing irrigation. We were moving from village to village, looking out for the poor farmers and wanting to do irrigation to that fellow. Okay, so poor farmer is as much afraid of new technology, new irrigation. Irrigation is a huge investment. So you would end up spending so much of more energy in convincing that person. With the same energy, you could have irrigated about 10 rich farmers. And to assume that all there is a bad wealth is an incorrect thing. And in fact, if I go back to my 90s, I would have sort of taken 500 acres of land, created a lot of wealth, given jobs to so many people, and based on that, I could have helped the farmers. So spending entire time in convincing a poor fellow to come up, you are using your energies less efficiently. It is important, but you should also sort of promote more wealth in the society.
So before I actually move on to some questions, there's a short video that I thought I should share now, and then maybe we can unpack what we see in that video also as we go along in the conversation. So just sharing this video for all to see. So.
This child should not be here. He should be at home.
मम्मी को बोल के हम लोग काम ही नहीं जाने दिया. मम्मी ने कहा मत जाओ, हमने कहा हम लोग जाएंगे, तो कहे जाओ. हम लोग जिद करके आए. जी.
They were scolded or abused. Others misguided by friends. Many runaways hop into trains to flee. The platform becomes their home. It is a grim, dangerous life, and always degrading. The platform child never grows up. He just ages. Sathi aims to reunite the lost child with his family. They believe in this bond. They have relocated hundreds of children. Most have stayed on at home. Sathi workers patrol the platforms for about 8 to 12 hours every day. Families are reunited at the Sathi offices. The parents are asked to come over. In case they cannot, Sathi accompanies the child back to his hometown. A small reunion ceremony is held in the office. Final advice is given.
This is Venkateshwar. He's all grown up. It is such a joy to see him. In childhood, Venkatesh could not bear the pressure of education, but today he is a professional.
Hundreds of children have found their way home again because Sathi had faith in them.
My name is Kavita M.
Hello sir, this is Kusuma.
My mother works in a garment and my father works in as a security guard. I have a younger brother and sister.
As my family is very poor family, Prerana is assisting me financially and giving other helps also.
After marriage, when my daughter is 2 years old, he was fully drinking and he was roaming as a man. I can't be able to.
It hits hard when you see families and their difficulties. But there are two bright children in this family and they are the assets of the family.
And then they selected me as a Prerana student. That was my luckiest day of my life. In the first year, I got 18,000 rupees for CET. I was really happy. I didn't have a dream about joining engineering. I thought it was the most prestigious education that we poor people can't afford it. But Prerana made my dream come true.
Currently, I am working in a company called SMSC.
I am right now placed in TCS, Tata Consultancy Service. Got selected in Deutsche Bank.
Many of us are involved. We get to meet the children that Prerana supports. We get to see how well they are doing.
This child should not be here. He should be at home.
So that's a very, I think in short, we looked at both what Sathi has done and continues to do, as well as what Prerana has done and continues to do. There are quite a few people who you have touched. There are quite a few people's lives that you have changed and other things. So looking at that, how do you see that as something that is? How has that changed you? The fact that so many people you have touched and so many people are speaking so well about what has happened over the years. How has that changed Pramod as a person as well as who he is today?
See, there is this feeling that there is a sense of contentment in the mind. It is a inborn personality that if you connect with somebody directly and then help and see a kind of the agony going down and then some joy coming onto the face, you feel a sense that you have lived your life purposefully. There is this very spiritual sentence saying that Isha Vasasya Idam Shariram. So that inspires me. And I like that. So in that sense, I got an opportunity to do all this. So there's a sense of contentment, saying that I've done. Apparently, there is also feeling that I could have done more, much more, a little more of pragmatic thinking and less of being too emotional. I could have done much more. But this gives me a good feeling. Also, it sort of all this was done because there was money available, and then the society at large placed that faith and give the money. All this is being done from others' money, not my money. So, and at the same time, this is my house. I have built the house. My children are educated. So it is not that I don't feel that I have sacrificed for sure, and definitely that's not the feeling. I enjoyed this job. I got an opportunity. I got the support, and I did as much as it came to my mind and my hands. And I also very consciously say that I have not done a life-changing work for these children. That's not the word to use. I said at that moment that was needed, and that is what I have done. So that kind of the thought process in your mind, saying that you don't take the don't talk about big words. I have changed the life and I have done that. you are a small person. At that moment, this was required. I have done it. Those kind of thoughts have helped me to sort of be stable. So it is a good experience. I rejoice it, but if I get a chance again, I want to do 10 times more than this. Also, I want to do corporate work and earn money, and also want to do this. If both of them, both of them could have been done. I have done one of them and half of what I wish.
So it's a very, very interesting sentiment. I think when, one of the things that quite a few NGOs, people that I've actually spoken to, the founders and other things. So you spoke about the emotional aspect, and so I'm just coming to the second question that is very key. One of the challenges that many NGOs face today is to keep the spirit of the founders going, to find the people to take the NGO forward, the work forward, and also attracting and retaining the right talent. So what have been the challenges you have faced, and what are your thoughts on this for other NGOs also? Any advice for fledgling development sector organizations that want to start now on this aspect?
Yeah, this question itself has a different layers and the angles. Spirit of the promoter. For example, what do I call as the spirit of Pramod Kulkarni is love for child, love for to touch a child, love for education. That is the spirit I call it as. So that is on one hand, and then on the other hand, you have a program, you have the components of a program, and you have third aspect, you have an NGO, you have a platform, and fourth aspect, you have knowledge. So all these 4 or 5 things make together the promoter's contribution. I hope I can illustrate saying that my values about children, my feeling about children, and how do I deal with is one thing which I intensely feel, and I call it as the spirit of Pramod Kulkarni. Okay, spirit is a big word, but then that is what it is. Then second hand, we happen to look at a child on the platform and connect with the parents and send the child back home, and that was a new thought, a new contribution. I mean, the children were coming even before. I mean, it was not done earlier. And then we started doing it. And then, 90,000 children were connected and then sent back home. And there was a period between 98, 2002, around 2010, we were flagged for doing this, that we are doing a wrong thing. And this is part of the life, because different people have different ways of looking at it. So, and we respect those. Somebody says that you are sending a child back into the problem. What the hell are you doing? That person is not degrading you. He's speaking from one particular point of view. And so, in fact, instead of debunking him, you have to give him the data, show that he's concerned for the child is cared. So I'm talking about, one is the feeling toward the child. Second is the ideas and, how do you bring in the program. Third thing is that we did enormous amount of data collection on the children who leave home and then go back. So if somebody asks a question saying that why the children leave home, what are the reasons? We have a document, we have listed, 120 reasons. We have analyzed the reasons. How many of them are serious? How many of them are casual? How many of the situation it is prompted by the parents' behavior, and in how many situations it is prompted by the child behavior. So many angles. How many of them are correctable situation? How many of them are not correctable situation? So you generate a lot of knowledge. And the third thing is that you have a platform, you have an organization, NGO, Sathi, and this and that, and so it can take forward the work of the children, work with the children. So these are the various layers of the promoter's personality, and the values that you live for are something which the promoter has to live, demonstrate it, and then hope that it is accepted by the people. There is no system that you can promote your values, but the knowledge is something which you can promote. It has to be documented. It has, you have to document your own experience and make it available to the society, to be acceptable from their point of view. Suppose I, go and talk to the lawyer and say that, look, I'm, rescuing the children and then taking, apparently you will ask from a legal point of view. in the law, it says that you can take the custody provided you do this, have done that, So when I produce this document, I have to include the views of the lawyer, of the policeman. Policeman will say that, yeah, so many children come on the platform, what the hell do I do? You want me to protect the people, or you want me to, care for the child? These are the different views. You can't say that, I'm doing this job, everybody should accept it and pat me. So you generate the knowledge, keeping the different views in the mind, you generate that knowledge and make it available to the society. That is another contribution of the promoter. Third thing is about the infrastructure, that society, that NGO that you create. Some of the programs are such that you can do that and then leave it at that. Say, for example, irrigation is something. We said, there are so many villages, there is no irrigation, water is flowing, so why don't you use it? I have seen irrigation from my childhood. So you implement it and then just leave it at that. Okay. It is, so there is nothing to continue there. If Pramod Kulkarni wanted that to be continued, then there are so many other things that one could have done about irrigation. Irrigation efficiencies, the crops appropriate irrigation. And once the irrigation comes, the family development, the values, the education, so many things one could have done. But we at that time said that, well, do irrigation, show it to people and just leave it. So, and nothing to feel guilty about it, So if somebody says you have not done a good job, I said, irrigation karna tha, kar diya. Aage ka jo Bhagwan hai. So not all the all that the promoter stands for are such that it need to be promoted for a long period of time. You can, the problem comes when you have a, you do it in a small way to your heart's content, but then in the public you take a stand saying that I'm here to solve the problem of the nation. Your talk is different and your work is different, and then that creates dissonance, and that's not good. So if for example, if I would have said that, I love the children on the platform, I want to help them, finish it. That's it. But if I say that we have to take care of all the children coming across all the platform, then it is a different ballgame. Then what you need to do is many more different things. There was an organization which said that, their faith is promoting the child on the platform. Don't remove the child away from the platform. Fair enough, that is their faith and they are doing a good job, nothing wrong in it. But when that NGO says that this is a solution for the entire country, that is wrong. To do that, they would have to do 100 more things, and they don't do it. And then they say, no, the society is not good, they are not accepting my solution. That is not correct. I don't know, am I answering your question?
No, I think yes, in a sense that, what I've seen, both the passion as well as the multiple emotions and the questions that typically people who engage in this kind of work go through. Because I can actually relate to some of the what you're saying in terms of the multiple emotions and what you want to do versus what people say versus what is actually happening. But the second part of the question, and I'll club it with the next question, is also this whole issue of leadership and succession planning, finding people to continue the work and all of that seems to be a real challenge. I've seen it at multiple NGOs as well, where finding people who have the same shared values, for example, like you mentioned, or the same passion that is needed for this work. Now, even though passion is a very overrated word, I mean, it has certain value in the context of the area in which the development sector, NGOs work and all that. So this seems to be a big challenge. How do we get people to engage and work with NGOs? How have you, addressed this kind of a challenge, getting people to work with you and engage with your organization?
Yeah, I would like to say with a sense of pride that, there was this organization Prerana, which I built, and then people say that it is your organization, but it is a society's organization. I was a secretary there. And today I'm out, and then somebody is running it and somebody is doing a good job. And so it is a good feeling. And the other NGO also, almost a similar thing is about to happen. So moving out of the NGO and handing it over is a very special thing. Many people aspire for it. Many people say that it is almost difficult, it is not possible, and then the society at large says that NGO promoters are they stick on and then hang on, and then they cling to the NGO, they don't move out, and so all this is there. So what is that I did, which successfully it is handing over has happened. And so what is that I have to share? There are three things. One is that when you hand over, ensure don't stand on saying that the person has to have a lot of good values and this and that. Don't expect too much. People are different. So if there are broad, ethically, good behavior and some appreciation of whatever work you do is enough. Okay. So second thing is, if you really believe, you just walk away from there. Don't say that as a promoter, I want to stand here. I want to help the new incumbent. I want him to get the hand holding and then I leave. No, don't do that. Just cut off and then move away. You should not be there in the board also. And then that is what I have been able to do. And third thing is that you have to have a very good board, because during this transition, what you need is a good board, and then the good board does phenomenally good work at that time. Other way, you are there and then you are running a good organization. Board probably just is a sounding place. Once in a while you go and then seek advice. But during such transition period and during this critical period, board has a phenomenal role to play. And then in case of Prerana, where I handed over, board did play a lot of good role. Another thing I would say that the new incumbent for sure would not like you there. And so it sometimes irritates you, sometimes insults you. But you should have that maturity to chill in those feelings and say that, and you will be provoked very often. People will say, "Arey yaar, tumne, you built it up for 20 years. There, you are not invited there." Provocation will be there. You have to chill in that and say that no, it is God's work and it is society's effort. For example, I sent a letter to my ex-organization saying that this webinar is there, please send some photograph. There was no response. So, yeah, but you don't have to get insulted about it. Okay, you hota hai, hota hai.
Yeah, it's a very important point you make about the ability to walk away. I think at this point, I remember you mentioned that you also wanted to have one of your colleagues, Mr. Rajiv.
Yeah.
Would you like him to say something right now?
It would be good, because he was the board member, and incidentally, he's a board member in Sathi also. So he has seen the organization, he has seen the transition.
Rajiv ji, I'm going to unmute you now. So please go ahead and share your thoughts with us on this particular point.
Yeah, thanks, Ramesh. Yeah, I think Pramod mentioned a few things. It's been a very interesting, we work with a lot of NGOs. I'm also involved with something called Dhwani Foundation, where we really work with NGOs in building their organizational capacity. And succession planning is always a challenge. We believe in grassroots NGOs. We believe they are the one making the biggest difference, and NGOs have a serious issue around succession. Pramod has been one of those rare leaders who has been able to do transition. One of them completed a while back, and second thing is one is almost, we are reaching there. I think the important thing which Pramod also just mentioned is that it's very important to have a very, very strong board, because at that time, board is the continuity when so many changes are happening. The biggest challenge which we saw, because since most of the NGOs are very small, the number of employees are very less, and inherently the leader, like Pramod, who has started the NGO out of passion, is someone. He's also very good with people. Is someone everybody looks up to. I think the biggest challenge which we have seen, it's if I can use the term, transfer of loyalty. Right. And that is a very hard thing. The employees actually, more than anybody else, find it very hard to
at times adjust to the new person. And you as a board get into this difficult situation where you don't know that is this person coming to you because the new leader is genuinely not able to come to grips. So where do you draw the line between giving that person a rope, so that the person evolves and does their own thing, versus actually person is doing something which is detrimental to the NGO. And what I found useful in that scenario, because the board was there, we were there, and we knew people, was to keep some line of communication open with multiple people and not just one. And the second thing which we had to be very sensitive is to the new leader does not feel that that person is being bypassed when we are talking to these people who are in the team. So I think drawing that balance has been the most difficult thing in Prerana and right now in Sathi. And I will say that, in both the cases, there are times when your heart is in your mouth. Even you don't know whether you're doing the right thing or not. It is a transition phase. There are points where you have to take a decision. And sometimes you have to take a decision to let some of those people go because they are not able to accept the new person. And it becomes very, very destructive to the organization. So, that has been the most difficult thing which we have found. I think the one thing which I will say that is a good practice which we have seen, in India, in our Hinduism, we have 4 stages. The third stage is actually Vanaprastha. And Vanaprastha is where you're sitting on the edge of the forest, but you let people come to you and take the advice. That's what we keep on telling Pramod, just be there. We'll come to you when we need your advice. And I can see that at times it's a challenge for Pramod to, Pramod is a man of action. And just giving Gyan is not his style. So I can see Pramod going through that challenge. But I guess we all have gone through the challenge. I worked with Infosys for so many years. And, you have heard all the stories out there as well. So the transition is never easy, whether it's in the corporate world, wherever you have a charismatic leader. And you're moving from there to some amount of institutionalization. It's always a tough thing.
Thank you, Raju. Raju is in a marriage situation. I requested him to pull himself out for 5 minutes. And so you can see that, if some people tell me saying that, transition has happened and such a good thing, the credit has to be divided in 3 parts. 1/3 to me, 1/3 to Rajiv and the board, and 1/3 to the new person who is handling it. Okay.
I think absolutely.
All right, Rajiv. Thank you.
A lot of good points that Rajiv makes, and particularly the tongue-in-cheek point about Vanaprastha, which is actually very, very relevant actually, because in India, people don't relate to Vanaprastha as much. When people walk away, they think it's sannyasa. So that also seems to be. So thank you very much, Rajiv. I think that was very insightful, and thoroughly enjoyed the insights you shared on this particular topic.
Thank you, Rajiv.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Pramodji, the other aspect that I wanted to touch upon is the fact that many NGOs often get stuck doing what they've been doing, without being able to. It's one way to look at it, saying that we are narrowly specialized. We want to do only this, and the other thing is there is I don't know, but as I see it, also a need to scale operations. They're not able to. Either in terms of geography, they're not able to spread, or in terms of the areas that they're engaging in, or in the number of people they're touching. So, they often get bracketed into, this NGO, we can only do this kind of work. So, but I think to a large extent, you have been able to tackle that kind of an issue. So what has been your experience in attempting to diversify and or, scale operations in terms of geography or even thematic areas, for example, and how important do you think it is for NGOs to invest in this aspect of their growth, if we can call that?
Number one, we did as part of Sathi, we did extensively, in a large geographic area, and at a point we had something like 25-30 railway platforms covered and 25 to 30 shelters all across India. Can you think of going to Barabanki and then opening a shelter, putting a staff on the railway station, and having the children in your shelter? It's a scary thing. Today I can smile and then say something, but opening a shelter in Barabanki, having children in a shelter is a scary thing. You get a ring at around 9 o'clock from Barabanki, you are shit scared. क्या हो गया था बच्चे हैं अंदर, और ऐसे हुए भी है. बच्चा भाग गया, बच्चा दीवार को सिर फोड़ लिया, ये ऐसा हो गया, तो so many things. So apparently it was done taking a huge amount of risk. There was risk involved. Then there are situations where police came, they raided, and then they say you are, तुम क्या चलाते हो, तुम चोर खाना चलाते हो, ऐसा सभी कुछ, because what you are doing is socially was not familiar. It was something cut off the situation. So you respect his word. He's speaking from his point of view, but you have a face saying that yes, children can be helped, and then we are helping. तो आपको risk लेके अलग-अलग जगह उसको open करना होगा. किया हमने. ना उसका ना कोई permission था, ना उसका कोई nothing of that kind. And the board also said, okay, ठीक है, चलो करो. It paid off. It hugely paid off. See, when you open the shelter and when you reunite the children, you also make it a point that you document it and show it to 100 people around. You go to the local police thana, you go to the local railway station, you go to the local MLA, MLC, and वहाँ का जो corporate होता है उसको, and the women and child welfare department, education department. About every month you make a case study and give photos to about 100 people in the local area. And you do it around 2 to 3 times, आपका एक छवि बन जाती है. No, these people are good people. And then all the rules and regulations and all harassment will take a back seat. So if you want to spread, then involving the local community and accepting a buy from them is more important, much more important than just the logic and the goodness of the work you do. We are doing good work, but then other people have to know and appreciate. They have to, they have to support you. And so we did that. And then other aspect of that work was that it was a very simple, well-defined, plain work. बच्चा आता है, पकड़ो, ले आओ, 2-3 days you stay, get the details, identify the parents, hand over with a little bit of work and document everything. It was as simple as that. And we didn't get into very complex issues. Say, for example, even here there is a question: how do you prevent the children from running away? There is a question here. Okay, and any logical person with a very wanting to do good to the society want to go to the roots of the problem and say that, can I stop it? Can I stop running away? But the pragmatism says that it is not possible. It is too huge. For example, in Bangalore, suppose I have to stop running away. How do you do it? I can't do, I can't, connect with the children in my locality in 1 kilometer area. How do you connect with large number of children and then stop running away? So that's a very difficult thing. But that idea is very romantic. Many organizations in 2010 latched on to that theory. They collected a lot of money. They did a lot of work on the ground. They produced a lot of reports, but all in the net it is zero. So we chose saying that we want to be pragmatic. No, even if the money is there, even if the question is so beautiful, people are willing to give money, we will not be able to do it. We won't want to do it because you do some effort and you will be able to see the results. That very sharp and concrete definition of your work helped in moving around. And we collected a lot of data. And so somebody asked a question saying that in, say, for example, in Lucknow, how many children you help, of what age, where are they now today, what is their address? All the data is available. And, because of this data-based activity, our credibility went up. Incidentally, in the NGO sector, there is this feeling that the moment you collect data, you are less human, human feelings, So, suppose I ask a question, what does it cost to help one child? And people will jump up and say that, are you attaching a cost to the life of a child? There are the wrong things to connect, So if you want to spread, your work has to be measurable. If your work has to be measurable, there has to be pakka data and good definition. So that is the way it is. I hope I.
Yes, you touched upon it, and one other thing is that but when we look at how NGOs generally function, India I think has got the maximum number of NGOs by some margin. I think across the world we seem to have the maximum number of NGOs, but one of the issues that is very relevant and which we seem to be facing is the lack of cooperation among the NGOs themselves. I certainly think that if NGOs work together, there can be a lot of synergy in terms of what we can do for the sector itself. But there seems to be more a spirit of competition. I must get this, I must do this, then it should be, I should be seen as having done all of this. And so while we agree that, that cooperation would mean that, we can do much more for the development sector, we don't seem to be getting to do that. So do you see this changing at all? Do you see things getting better, improving in this particular area?
No, I think it is in the intrinsic nature of human being. So each NGO head, it is like a fort. Uska ek raj hota hai, uska, this is my kingdom kind of feeling hota hai. So however noble are the words that person uses, in terms of, we want to, scale up and then address the issues at the national level. The fact is, emotionally, there is this feeling that this is my organization and I will do it, and we know what is the right thing. So the patience and perseverance to, look out and look at the others' experience and how do you bring a synergy between those? ये काफी कम होता है. This is the nature. There's nothing. I have come to a stage where I don't debunk it. I say, fine, क्या अच्छा तो काम कर रहे हो, but बोलते समय भी ऐसा ही बोलो कि भाई मैं इतना कर रहा हूँ, बस इतना ही करूँगा, इतना बोल दो, ये अच्छा रहेगा. And see, for example, we were sending these children back home, and there was a great personality, Mandar, IAS officer, and he was coming on the TV and saying that the children should not be sent home. So I went to meet him. I said that, look, here is the data. I want to show it to him. And he called me at a time at 1:30. We went there at 1:30 along with another IIM friend. And the moment he saw, he got up and started making arrangement for lunch for himself. And within 5 minutes, we knew what he says. We just could not talk. He just showed no interest in looking at the data. So you have this kind of situation where NGOs strongly feel that this is the right thing and this is not the right thing. Unwilling to listen to others, unwilling to accommodate other views and see whether it is relevant or not. It has happened to us, and incidentally, when our focus was on a very our focus was very broadly on a national issues. We said all children coming on the platform have to be helped. So even going to Mandar Naik, Harsh Mandar, was to elicit his support. And if it is not available, it is not available. Just leave it. But don't get into a fight with him. So wherever support is available, take it and then expand. So for example, you go to other NGOs who are already working on the platform, like Prayas in New Delhi, Salam Balak in Mumbai and like that, in Pune. The general thought, initial thought from them was that hum kaam kar rahe hain na, tum kya kar rahe ho? Those kind of things. Also, in Kolkata, tum Karnataka se aake kya karoge? Hum nahi hai kya Bengal ke? So is tarah se very, very strong statement would come from them. So you don't respond to them at that level. You say, हाँ, आप भी अच्छे हैं, हम भी अच्छे हैं. Then करके तो देखें, let us experiment for 1 month and say if good work happens, then we'll continue. Otherwise, we will not continue. So we have, that amount of accommodation of all others, and then you have to push your ego back a lot. And so if you go to an NGO and say that, "Bhai, aap bahut acha kaam kar rahe hai, aapke niche hum kaam karenge." If you that way, if you can convince, then there is a possibility of some kind of collaboration. If the so we had this collaboration in 20 locations. We worked with NGOs jointly. None of them continued. All of them had, my issues. But despite that, all those collaboration, even today we can walk in and there's a huge amount of love and affection and regard, because we handled those egos separately. We said, okay, बच्चा है, बच्चों को मदद करना, आप करो, पुण्य भाई आपका है, काम भी आपका है. We are here to help. So I hope that that message is clear. Unless you withhold your ego and keep the national issue in front of you, and accept that there are many people with many views and all of them have to be accommodated, expansion is not possible.
There is one question in the chat box, I think, which asks, what is the typical age group at which children seem to run away? Is there a particular profile age group at which they seem to be?
Yeah, so between 9 to around 13, 14 is the typical age where you see, a lot of children that we have found are in that age.
That's the vulnerable age group.
9 to 11, 12 is a very vulnerable kind of age.
I have one last question. Increasingly, most NGOs seem to be focusing primarily on, they seem to be like execution arms of the government. They're very, at the grassroots, they will build infrastructure, they will build wash facilities, those kind of things. Even though we seem to be saying that NGOs are in the development sector, they don't seem to be shaping the development narrative as such.
Correct.
They're not talking of the development itself. They're not looking at the soft components of development. Do you see the need for? Obviously there is a need for the NGOs to move up the value chain. But do you see that happening? And do you see NGOs that don't do this, getting slowly squeezed out of the market itself?
Absolutely. And if only they open up on that front, a lot of good will happen to the society. I will explain my own, the experience. We are holding the children on the platform, calling parents and handing over. You can imagine the amount of the joy, you would get, and everybody associated, the police and the railways, both Pune ka kaam hai, all the staff, and so the sense of pride sort of increased. And apparently we said, "Hey, government kya karegi? Chodo usko. Never go to the government. If you have energy, you better use it on the platform and help more children than going to the government." So we kept away from the government for a very long period of time. So only around 2010, after about 10 years or so, somehow some energies pushed us, and we went to the minister. So why not this program be done all across India by the government? How much I can do? How many? There are 100 platforms. I can work in 20 platforms, and how long the money will keep coming? So the thought process saying that what is happening in the society, what is happening in the government, what are the programs that are for the children, how does my work fit into it? All that kind of thought was not there. So apparently, when I went to meet some of the officers, the first question was, in which program of the government do you fit, or do you want a separate program? It was a baffling question. I had not seen it. I was only saying that I'm doing a good work. But from his point of view, he wants to know where does it fit, so that I can sort of stretch it and cover your program. And unless I answer that question, he's not going to push it. So he says, can you look into the existing program and where do you fit it? How do you fit it? And so somebody, we went back and said that in the women and child welfare, this is where it fits. Then he said, okay, I'm willing to give you money, but then the proposal has to come from the state government. So we went to 10 state government, went to 10 secretaries and said that, sir, can you do something? Apparently, you waste a lot of energy because nothing moved. And it so happened that once we went and called Menaka Gandhi, the women and child welfare minister, to one of this reunion function. बच्चे आते हैं तो उसको माँ बाप के साथ मिलाते हैं. Can you come and see this particular function of reuniting children back to parents? Apparently, it is very emotional. Parents are searching and children are not there, and then when they receive a message, child is here, a child comes, child is looking for parents. See, when the child moves out of the home, for a day or two, it is in a very rebellious mood. But after third day, it wants to go back, and it cannot go back because it has to explain where the hell it went. So it will get ज़्यादा थप्पड़ पड़ेगा. He has come out of home because थप्पड़, and then जाके बोला कि मैं भाग गया था 2 दिन, ज़्यादा थप्पड़ पड़ेगा, इसलिए नहीं जाता है वो. So the whole function is so emotional. And there was enormous amount of criticism in the development sector saying that you are doing a wrong thing. You are building your own, तुम चूल्हा जला रहे हो बच्चों के emotion पर करके. We confronted it. We said, भाई हमें अच्छा लगता है, हम करेंगे. We are not misusing it. That's very clear in our consciousness. We want to use this to demo it to various authorities so that they understand it, they build on that. To one of the function, we invited the Menka Gandhi ji. She came, she appreciated it. She did a very good work. I didn't know this, this problem exists. So, and on the stage, the personality that she is, she said, I will ask the government, saying that if any child is found on the railway platform, the station master should be suspended. कहाँ वो लाठी कहाँ पड़ी, किसको पड़ी? Anyway, but she, we went back and then we said the question was, how do you bring this program into Women and Child Welfare Department? The issue is not of money. Issue is not of appreciation of the program. Issue is not, saying that we reject your solution, but how do you accommodate it? So then there was a proposal made saying that there are already child lines all across country. It was a creation of Menka Gandhi, something which the whole nation is very proud. So can we have a child line for the railway station? Normal child line is not fit, because normal child line is of a different nature. Railway platform work is of a different nature. You have to stand on the platform. And the idea clicked. See, today if I say that, everybody will say, आपने थोड़ा किया है, so many people must have given the idea. So let us say that, so many people gave the idea, but the idea clicked. And today she implemented railway child line in about 100 locations. They're running today. So working with the government, if you are interested in solving the problem at a larger level, is essential. But you have to understand the language of the various stakeholders. You can't debunk them. You can't continue to go on saying that I'm doing a good job. You have to cut down your ego. You have to use those words which are understandable by others. You have to appreciate others' narrative. You have to be very pragmatic. If, suppose example, the government asks me the question, what is the cost of helping one child? You have to answer that question. You can't say that, why do you want to, ask that question? So you have to fall in line. The system works. You have to fall in line with the system. I hope I have.
Yeah, you have. And I'm going to squeeze one last question in because it came through the chat box. And it's a personal question addressed to you. It's a comment as well as a question. It says, great interview, but would like to know from where Pramod draws his strength. Is it from the work that he does, or is it his upbringing, or is it the spiritual leaning?
I would say it is upbringing. Upbringing and the spirituality in the upbringing. Yeah.
Right. Great answer.
Yeah. Absolutely. See, I must also say that as a young man at 13, 14 years, very rebellious, and say that hell with these temples, and like any other young child. So it was like that. And then we have this Kannada writers like Bichi, Devarillada Gudi, and all those kind of books that were there. So we were quite rebellious at that time. But it took time to distinguish between the religious practice, the philosophy behind the religion, the meaning of the life, and then what does it mean to, what is a meaningful life, and how do you look at the experience of the past people. So it took some time. And my mother was very religious person. So, I would touch her feet, and, she was the one who kept that. She never said, what you are doing is wrong. She said, so the amount of the freedom she gave and then tolerated me, all that helped. So, it is spiritual and it is upbringing.
It's been an absolute pleasure and privilege to have had this conversation with you, Pramod. And I think there's much that I have personally taken from this conversation. And I'm sure everybody who's been here and everybody who's going to watch the recording later on YouTube also is going to take a lot of lessons. Not just, they're going to take life lessons and not just lessons for their particular NGOs or the corporates or wherever they may be. It's been an absolute, it's wonderful. Thank you. I will now hand it over to Bala to take this.
Thank you, Ramesh. Thanks for the great questions. Thank you, Mr. Pramod, for the thought-provoking and the insightful session. I think you started well, saying that corporate is an engine and the development sector is a bogey, and that set the tone for this today's. And you touched upon many topics, being in corporate and still doing for the corporate sector, doing more, risk management, the succession that you plan, synergy between the NGOs, and finally on the government. So extremely thankful to you, and I'm sure that many of us watching it live and going to watch in the future with the recordings is certainly going to help us inspire to do more. So thank you once again. So with that, we are coming to the end of the session today, and I'm pleased to invite Mr. Amar Bhaskar to give the vote of thanks. Mr. Amar Bhaskar is a management professional in the IT industry for the last 35 years, a certified subject matter expert in project program management and operations. He's actively involved in several social and professional bodies in executing large projects and programs. Amar holds a postgraduate degree in applied mathematics. He's currently he's a founder director for 2 NGOs. One is Prakalpa Saujanya Foundation and the Mitra Care Foundation. He was the founding member of the PMI Bangalore chapter 20 plus years back. So with that, over to you, Mr. Amar, and looking forward for your thoughts.
Thank you, Bala. Thank you, Ramesh and Sir Pramodji. Humble namaskar to you for a fantastic conversation, and I enjoyed every bit of it. And I hope the recording will help, as Ramesh said, for all others who could not make it to this program can definitely watch later offline. Coming from a prestigious institute, like you said, and devoting your entire career in the social segment and even beyond, it's not about career. Even now, you've been so attached with the development sector. Is a fantastic, and again, big pranam to you on this. As Ramesh said, we have all entered the segment after our stint in the corporate. that is a different ball game, as rightly said. And however, we have had the inclination to do this is something we all have been noticing now and trying to cherish this. I saw one question which asked about where you draw the strength. I know the answer. Love for the child, love for education, love for touching lives. And you said NGO is a platform in education, and I really went ahead and did it. And this is really the spirit, as you said, a fantastic thing coming from bottom of your heart, in my opinion. And that's what was really always working inside you to do this perseverance, the patience in handling every situation that arises, and all the challenging things that you spoke about was fabulous from that point of view. And I noted these as something very important to take away. There was another area where you touched upon very aptly, and this is actually the topic today in terms of scalability and sustained leadership, right? And in that space, after building 2 NGOs and leaving it, and then be able to walk away from there, and so everybody has this passion for attachment. But detachment, how do you practice the detachment is a very significant thing that you really have achieved. And yes, I'm finding it very, very difficult. As Bala explained, there have been so many areas that I've been into and off. And now, you have given some cue in that space as to how you should really go about with it, and then be able to walk away, never have any big expectations from all of those. Everybody will catch up and do. Don't think that you are the only person who can do it, and then good work, leave the good process and work behind, and for them to really take it, it's not a copyright, it's a copyleft. So with that, we've been able to achieve. I think we will take that forward as well. So here, when you spoke about the satisfaction, the sense of accomplishment comes when you are able to hand it over, move forward, and now you're enjoying that entire thing. That it's, look back and see what you have really constructed, leaving the legacy behind. Fantastic approach. And the challenges that you face is not anything, very different. There are so many you face in corporate, there's so many you face in development sector as well. So there's no big event, but what you have achieved in getting this organization to a national level of recognition and being recognized in 2015 for one of the best foundations and doing a lot of good social work from the president of the country was a marvelous achievement. So again, really hats off to your dedication and leadership in this space. One thing last before I conclude off is there are many qualities of a good leader. We all speak about this. Leader should be inspiring. Leader should be directing the people, guiding the people, teaming with them, and so on and so forth and everything. There's one more quality: humility. And you have really, really demonstrated this from a leadership perspective of how to lead with humility. And again, pranam to you, sir. With those words, I would like to again thank SUIM for giving us an opportunity together along with Prashalpa and all my colleagues, Bala, Vijay, and Sujata on this, and all the audience for staying together, making this, and I'm sure all others can enjoy the video clipping as well later. Yeah, thank you once again. Over to you, Bala. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amar sir. So thank you once again to everyone who have participated in this session. We'll again meet again next month with another dialogue. And with that, have a good evening. And thank you so much, Mr. Pramod. It was really wonderful again. And I think it will be definitely an inspiration for all of us. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.